All right. That was the creepy robot voice that I must turn on every morning when I'm talking with you. And I'll post the resulting Zoom lecture, a link to it in here, introductory lecture notes. So, welcome to College Algebra, Math 90, Spring 2022. Mondays, Wednesdays, 9 to 11:30 in the morning. There's my name, there's an office hour, and so on. Textbooks, College Algebra 7th edition, Stuart, Ridlin, and Watson. Okay, first question obviously asked is, how do I give out grades? The system is on a scale, not a curve. What's the difference between a scale and a curve? Someone do answer, please. What's the difference between a scale and a curve? Anyone? All right, a scale is you versus the textbook. Curve is you versus each other. I prefer the scale because it makes it less competitive and more cooperative and gives you a reason to encourage co-study. The scale is based on this. I'll have it listed elsewhere on this Canvas site. Up to 25% is an F. Up to then from there to 42% is a D. From there up to 67% is a C. From there up to 92% is a B, and there up to 100% and above is an A. So based mostly on homework, partly on quizzes, a little bit on the final. Generally enough to move you from one grade to a next, and also extra credit problem sets in the homework and independently assigned. Each homework set covers a chapter and is due on the third session after we finish the chapter. Excuse me, I have a cat in the way. Get out of here, cat. He likes to walk in from between me and the computer screen. That's very feline. Come on, cat, out the door. Each quiz will cover several chapters and is due on the fourth session, more or less, after those chapters are done. Each credit set covers independent material and is due by semester's end. And the final covers all chapters and is due by semester's end. Excuse me. So yes, I allow you to hand in homeworks, etc., via the inbox till the semester's end. Please do not abuse that privilege. It really doesn't work to hand in absolutely everything at the very last minute. Such desperation does not yield dividends. The winning strategy is to keep up. We'll proceed. All right. And when you when you do homework, quizzes, final extra credits, scan them, preferably as a PDF file. A JPG file is not as good, but will do. There are other formats which my computer can't read, so don't use those. The resulting scan attached to an email, which you send into the inbox, and I'll respond to the same inbox. All right. This Canvas site contains a home page, course information, modules for syllabus, homework sets, quizzes, extra credits, sets, final lecture notes, and links to Zoom lectures. The discussion forums for you to contact each other. There's an inbox here to hand in work and to contact me, and a Zoom link to attend lectures. This Canvas site is asynchronous, means that it's up at all times, and you can access it anytime. It won't change. Well, maybe slowly. Zoom session is synchronous. You are to attend to it at specific times and places. So I have some pro tips for you. First of all, each homework is due a whole chapter at a time, not a section at a time. So chapter P, for example, the preparatory chapter, we do all of P0 through, let's see, P1 through P9, not just P1, then P2, but P1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, all in one go, if you don't mind.
Question.
Yes, please.
Yes, I like your idea there, and I'm just curious as far as submission. So just for whatever purpose, whatever potential reason may occur, is it acceptable to turn in a partial of the chapter? It's not desirable, but I mean in a multiple.
It's possible, and I could give the partial grade, and if you hand in something later, the rest of it later, I'll add that in.
But not favorable.
Not favorable. I will.
Okay.
And when I hand back, yes, and when I respond via the inbox, I will also, in general, include not a list of not only sections and problems missed, but sections and problems that could be redone. So you get a second chance to do things. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. I usually, usually I require just the answers to the questions, not necessarily the work. However, there are some exceptions, such as when we derive identities. So prove this expression equals that expression. I'd like to see as many steps, reasonable number of steps in the middle written down. Okay. And via Canvas inbox. You could via Canvas email, but that's not a good idea because there's lots of other stuff coming in there and it might get lost. This has happened quite a few times, actually. When you hand in a homework set, please circle your answers or highlight them or underline them with a scribble, something so that my eye could home in on them very quickly because, you know, to save me time. I mean, however much work it is for you to do the homework, multiply that by the number of people in this section, and that's how much work I have to do. So please make my life a little easier if you don't mind. Time management, very important. Like I said, it doesn't work to do everything heroically all the last minute. What does work is to make it a boring, regular habit so that as regular study times, regular homework doing times, just tick, 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 make it a routine. Math is all about routines. Do these sessions at 1 p.m. rather than 1 a.m. So let it be fresh, be morning fresh if possible. Keep pace with the work. That's a very good idea. And like I say, last minutes don't work. And yes, highly recommended. Calculators. A graphing calculator like this, that might cost like $120, $130. A 4-function calculator, considerably cheaper, but you might want one with sines and cosines and square roots. And yes, important to keep the manual. It's always tempting to just throw off the manual, file it away, recycle it. No. Keep it someplace where you can access it in an emergency when you don't understand how the machine works. There's also a matter of rates. This course covers 60 sections, including this introduction, and it'll be in about 31 or so meetings. Therefore, most meetings will cover about 2 sections, and occasionally I'll do a 3-section meeting, just to give ourselves a little bit of slack. And so in the last few sections, maybe 1 meeting each. It's hard to say. So there's that. Oh, someone in the chat wants to say something. What is it? Yes, I did ask Maureen Connors. I did ask you to unmute because I wanted to hear you say. I want to hear you when I call roll. Okay, let's proceed. All right. Now, in navigating in this, there's you can use this. There's a next button like this to go into the next section, or just as good, you can click out to the modules. So right after this is this. Here we go. Click. All right, here I am. This is what I look like. These curious figures on the wall are those fractals I mentioned before. They're highly complex figures made by reduction Xerox machine. I kind of like them. They're very mathematically pretty in a mathematical kind of way. All right, there's my name, there's my phone, there's my email, campus email, phone number, calls, leave messages, and in an emergency only. Times Monday, Wednesdays, 9 to 11 in the morning, 9 to 11:30 in the morning by Zoom. I have an office hour. We'll be sitting here on Tuesdays from noon to 1 by Zoom each week, starting next week. Here's a front cover of the textbook, edition 7. Use Canvas inbox. Okay, next section. Policies. We're taught by remote instruction. It's been almost 2 years that I've been doing this. I frankly confess that I don't miss the commute. I do think it's a little easier to interact with you. People don't speak up as much. Please do so, by the way. But still, here we are. My name, my address, my email, my phone number, when we are, textbook. Right. Graded on a scale, not a curve. Here's the scale, as mentioned before. Modules to look at notes, lecture notes, discussions, to send messages, City Zoom to get here on the Zoom link, inbox to hand in homework, and so on. Here's a list of topics. If you need help with the online learning, they have some facilities. There's a phone number for the Canvas helpline in case you need to figure things out. There's a Learning Assistance Center for tutoring. There's something called NetTutor. Here's an online instruction available. This student services, virtual campus, and tips. Right. Syllabus. Here's a syllabus for this course. This is what I used to hand out in the before times when I hand out pieces of paper with bearing this. There's a name, when, where, my name, my contact info, office hours, saying it more or less what I have in the rest of this. But if you wish, here's a scale. Here's a bunch of bureaucratic stuff that the administration insists I print on it, put on the handout. If you wish to print this out, then here you can click on this, download college2.docs, click on it, and it should give you, okay, how do we open with Word? And if you do that, oops, I'm sorry. Here's this, you can print this out. Apologies. Excuse me, I was, just before this class, I was putting on my blog a fantasy story about Lois Lane dumping Superman, but never mind that. Okay, next, after that, college algebra documents. These are the homeworks that are available, and they're assigned from this textbook. So these problem numbers from these sections. A couple things I'd like to ask you. You see two curious things about these numbers. Anything that strikes you, please say. Anyone?
They're all even, and you're doing that because of the answers in the back of the book.
Absolutely right. You got it. Good thinking. What about all these ones with the stars? Well, they're extra credits. All right. I give extra credit problems in the homework sets itself. So that can give you a little more points if you wish. And let me double check. I may or may not in this course have a whole extra credit section. No, it appears. Okay, fine. So an extra credit problem or two per section. All right. Here we go. Syllabus. All right. Now, the rest of this consists, well, mostly of lecture notes, such as, for example, here for section 1, say about algebraic models. We'll get to that later. And there will, I will in general cover about 2 of these per section. These and these and these. There are also some quiz notes. You'll note that these don't have a green check mark. They're not published yet. I will click on this when the time comes. After we finish 2.8, I'll click on this so you can access it. So you can see what homework sets are being, what homework problems are being given, and I'll just give you that glimpse for now. Okay, similarly, here's quiz 2 problem sets from chapters 5 through 6, or 3 through 6. And then there's 2 chapters after that. And also, of course, the final, which I'll publish in due course. And then there are these extra credit problem sets. So for example, here's one about writing fractions as decimal expansions and decimal expansions as fractions. So that can be 10 points you can make, which I think would be worth doing. So that was fractions, their binary volume scale, metric time scale, any of a number of others, decimals, quadratics, complex numbers, reduction, Cramer's rule, and so on. Okay. Oh yes, what else can be said? Well, there are other things such as, yes, this thing, the goose horn. I will use it as a kind of a judge's gavel for starting the class and ending the class. Also, I originally intended to use this for a purpose that backfired badly. Namely, I intended to honk people who make stupid mistakes in class. Turned out, however, I was the one who was making all the stupid mistakes. Someone would say, Mr. Hellerstein, isn't that 2 + 2 = 4, not 5? And I would look at it and I say, oh my God, I made a dumb mistake. And then I felt myself honor bound to commit ornicury. And I do this game for 3 reasons. 1. To give you an excuse, to give you a reason to pay attention and thus an opportunity to humiliate me. Always good, clean fun. For me, a reason to pay attention so I don't get humiliated. Again, professionally a good idea. And the third reason is to prove to you that someone who can make mistakes, someone imperfect like me can do this, then maybe you can too. So there's that. Let's see what else. I think I've covered over pretty much all of it. Let's go on to the material. I'd like to at least go on to some of the material, specific to the first section here. Let's proceed. In this course, we'll be covering models of algebra. The idea is an algebra is an equation that's about real world quantities, we hope, for example. If L is the number of sheep legs and S is defined as the number of sheep, then L equals 4 times S, unless there's some cripples or sheep walking around. So if F is 12, then what's L? There's 12 sheep, then times 4 makes 48 legs. Sounds about right. Here we have X is a sales price, T is a sales tax, T is 6.06X. It's a 6% sales tax. So if the sales price is $120, and what's the tax? Well, 6.06 times 120 is $7.20. Here we have a cylinder with radius r and height h. The volume V is pi r squared h. Pi is a special constant of mathematics, approximately 3.14159. What is it? Okay, so here this is V equals pi r squared h. Radius, if the radius of the cylinder is 2 inches and the height is 7 inches, what's the volume? All right, 2 inches pi times the square of 2 inches times 7 inches times is 28 pi cubic inches, which is approximately 87.964 cubic inches. Oh, generally about accuracy. In working out problems, that you can give an exact answer, 28 pi, or you can give its decimal approximation. And here I'd appreciate if it's at least 3 digits accuracy and 3 decimals accurate, or in this case, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant figures. That's good. I don't want just one. 87.9 isn't close. I really want to have at least 3 decimal places accuracy. All right, now here we go. If W is a number of weeks and N is a number of days, what's the formula for N and W? Now, 7 days in a week. Well, it's either N equals 7W or W equals 7N, and you have to use your common sense. The problem is that when you're saying is that the week is 7 days, it tempts you to think that W equals 7 times N. That's wrong. It's N equals 7 times W. You have to. I would recommend doing a couple of examples in your head just to make sure you get the formula right. Conversely, W equals N divided by 7. The number of weeks of days divided by 7 is the number of weeks. Now, here's a pizza parlor. It charges $12 for a pizza. Gee, I wish I could get a deal like that. And $1 per topping. Okay, fine. Let C be the cost, and as the number of toppings, what's C? All right. 12 just to get a pizza at all, plus 1 times the number of toppings. Okay, it's 12 plus 1n. That's the formula. If there's 3 toppings, then what's the cost? Well, n is 3, so C equals 12 plus 1 times 3, which is 12 plus 3, which is $15. Okay, cost is $16. How many toppings? So the cost is 12 plus n equals 16. 12 plus n equals 16. Then we do a trick in algebra where we can subtract 12 on both sides of the equation, and it stays an equation. 12 plus n minus 12 equals 16 minus 12. 12's cancel. 16 minus 12 is 4. So n equals 4. 4 toppings is the answer. Okay, sounds good. Okay, that should do it for now. We have done our first. I've introduced you to the course. I've given you the first lecture. Sounds good. General rule, I gotta warn you that the actual what's really being taught here. Traditionally, what education teaches is not just the material being ostensibly taught, but the method by which it's being taught. As McLuhan said, the medium is the message. or at least it's part of the message, I'd say. So back in, say, the 19th century, when they're introducing schools, they were basically teaching these husky farm boys how to sit in a chair for hours at a time and pay attention. And why? Because the factories that they were hiring them had that requirement. Similarly, this is going to teach you college algebra, but it will also teach you how to survive in an online course. And why? Well, because the work environment is now increasingly going online. So this course does require that you figure out how to cope with this, how to get online, how to review materials, how to scan materials and put them into the inbox. That's very important. How to do so in a way that's legible, and so on and so forth. I must tell you that one of the constants of teaching, of all the math teaching courses I've taught, is that most of my students' errors are clerical, simply scrawling something or misreading something or misrepresenting something, or writing it on the page in a disorganized fashion. If you can get it organized and so on, most of the work is done. So a piece of advice, please try and make it legible. Then you'll probably be okay. Okay, I think I've pretty much done what's to be done this first day. Obviously, your first chore is to get the textbook and so on. And I recommend you try and acquaint yourself with the contents of this Canvas site. Shortly after I finish this lecture, I shall go and, oh yes, stop recording.